got some bad news, and this to me, along with some of the other news that we're seeing regarding Xbox itself, is troubling, and it's troubling for multiple reasons. And to be honest with you, I'm starting to think that maybe Microsoft has stopped production of Xbox consoles, or at the very least, they've canceled what they were working on previously, and they're just kind of burning off stock or whatever the case may be. So, this is going to be a super interesting video, I'm sure. I have a lot to say about this because, there's just something not right. And it really just kind of bothers me as a longtime, not only Xbox fan, but a longtime gamer and console fan in general. So that's what I kind of want to talk about, and that's what I'm very much interested in right now. So anyway, I guess we should go ahead and get started, because what better time to do so than right now. Okay, so if you guys didn't know, Microsoft, of course, they raised their prices on their consoles to absurd amounts of prices, right? Absolutely absurd, unbelievably high. Nobody's going to pay, $650, $700 for a, Xbox that's going on 6 years old. So, that's the unfortunate part with that. Now, when it comes down to what I'm trying to talk about with this, why would you do that, right? Well, you would do that if you didn't want people to buy your console. That's at least what I take from that. But now it also looks like Microsoft is cutting out sales, or at least Costco has removed Xbox consoles from its store shelves and is no longer selling them. Searching for Xbox shows no results, but they are currently still selling PS5 and Nintendo consoles. This was come to us through X. I was just kind of looking around, but yeah, that's really weird. And listen, I've noticed this in other territories. I mean, not just the US, but there's been many territories where Microsoft has kind of pulled out of those territories and kind of just really, sent people in for a bit of a shock. It is a little bit shocking, to say the least, when stuff like this happens. And there's no real way to kind of gauge where we're going to go from here. But not having stores not sell your platform is very bad, and having people kind of just accept that is equally as bad. You kind of see people go, oh, well, who cares? Microsoft doesn't care about that. Well, if you're an Xbox gamer, you should care about that, obviously. So I guess we'll have to kind of see how this pans out. But, at the end of the day, I definitely have a bad feeling about this.
I have a bad feeling about this.
Hey, so if you're enjoying the video, or if you enjoy my content in general, please take a minute to actually try to like the video, subscribe, share, comment, all that stuff. It helps the videos to be seen, and it helps the channel to grow. Even after all these years, I still love the channel to kind of get some subscribers and get people liking the videos. I do daily video game content, so if you're looking for someone who does something every single day, ad nauseum, you found them. So much appreciated. I try to be fun yet informative, so if that's something you're looking for, look no further. Thank you so much. And I'm not trying to cry wolf, because this would not behoove me. I have almost 2,000 digital games installed on my Xbox Series X. I like the console, but they're making it increasingly of a poor value for people to pick these things up, and that doesn't say a lot. I mean, honestly, the fact that they're selling the Series S for 400 plus, if you get the one with any kind of storage in it, it's really a bad proposition all around. And that's not going to look good for them now, and that's certainly not going to look good in the future for what they're trying to do. And that's a big problem. That's something that I feel like Microsoft does not have a huge kind of idea of what they're going to do, or what the outcome could be when all this stuff kind of happens, and you have gamers kind of abandoning the console space. That's not going to be a good thing. I think that that's going to be something that everybody should kind of broach the subject with Microsoft. That's something that everybody, I think, would probably agree on. Now, for me anyway, when you look at this, I want to say I started to think that maybe Microsoft had stopped producing consoles maybe a year or two ago. I think they had like this big surplus of consoles. Nobody was buying them, so it was okay. They probably had a surplus of a few million. That's why they were only selling a few million a year. I think it was like rumored that they sold less than 3 million. What was it, last year total? I think and why it's always hard in stock, yet their sales are never good. So companies used to do this before, like the Nintendo GameCube. At one point, Nintendo stopped production of the GameCubes to sell off the stock, and then I think months and months and months later, they started back up. The Dreamcast was also going to do something similar, and they ended up not starting back up. Now, I'm not suggesting that Microsoft's going to go the Dreamcast route. I just think Microsoft has given up completely on this generation, and they maybe want people to buy the handhelds or something along those lines, maybe to kind of gear up for whatever evolution is coming next. After all, video game consoles are the latest craze.
Why don't you play with one of Bart's video games instead? Hugh Down says they're the latest craze.
Like I said, I'm not going to try and, fearmonger or anything like that, but it does seem almost like, we're starting to see a bit of a situation where a lot of this is happening and people are maybe turning a little bit of a blind eye to it. So, for me anyway, I'm kind of looking at this and I'm saying it does look a little bit suspicious that, this is kind of happening right now. And, people are starting to, I guess, kind of take a little bit of a notice of it. It's weird, you're years away from, from doing a next gen console, and you've apparently been trailing off your current offering for years already. That doesn't really make much sense in my opinion. And it does look a little bit like Microsoft could be kind of winding things down completely. I wouldn't, they consider everything in Xbox, so that makes almost nothing in Xbox, I guess. Like an Xbox to me is a console, and so the fact that they're kind of downplaying the console and and maybe trying to put their efforts into this like PC handheld, which again, they don't really take any of the risk on that, and that's something that they probably like a lot. That's a multi-trillion-dollar company, and they're not taking any risk on that thing. It's like somebody else is taking a risk, or they're taking very little risk, and they don't have to they don't have to subsidize it, they don't have to do anything. So yeah, if these things are $1,000 or whatever it doesn't really mean much to Microsoft. The people that buy them are gonna pay for games or whatever. Maybe maybe they might pay for the games, and maybe they might buy some games from the Xbox store. It's hard to really say right now, but at the same point in time, I feel like it is not a good look to not have any of your consoles available in multiple places, especially like in the US and Canada. I mean, these are like your main staying points for for your console generation, and it's just crazy to me that this is kind of happening the way that it is now. Of course, it could just be that, Costco wasn't selling a lot of them or whatever, but we keep seeing this in more and more places. So it does kind of raise an eyebrow a little bit, and, makes you think, at least somewhat, that something is up. You know what I mean? It's like, to be honest with you, it's weird because, to most people, and like, listen, I love Xbox, but it's clear that Xbox is already dead.
He's already dead.
And I actually kind of mean that in a respectful way. Like, Xbox is a console. Whatever Microsoft has up their sleeves for next generation, if it is indeed like just a PC or whatever, that's not a good thing, because that's the end of the console, right? It's like, we buy consoles, these aren't PCs, and not subsidizing the thing is going to really hurt. And if they're offering other stores on this thing, then obviously they're not subsidizing. So again, things can change in a New York minute, but at this particular point, I'm not sure what Microsoft is going to do at this point. It's going to be strange, and I just think that I'm going to have to take a wait and see approach, and hopefully like everything comes out okay. I don't know. I hope that the consoles survive, and I hope that Xbox survives. So that's what I'll be looking for at the end of the day. Let me know what you guys think. This is very interesting news. Thanks for watching. Rack 'em up. Crap Gamer out.